everybody, welcome back to the JG Show. I am in the studio, the JG Show studio, with my man Victor. Victor is a pro at fitness, movement, health, wellness, and much more. Let's do it.
Thank you, John. All right, how do I go on from there? Okay.
How'd you get to China?
How did I...
we got to start with, how did you get to the great land of China?
Okay, well, I mean, I can say I'm from China. I was born in Hong Kong originally. But my father's English, and before I came back to China, I was based in the UK, where I did my university degree, and my first career started was in London.
Okay.
And then I moved here in 2004 originally to learn Mandarin Chinese.
Really? Okay.
That's right.
That's why you came. So in London, what were you doing?
I was in finance. My first job was in finance.
Okay. But then to learn language in China.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay. You went straight to up north, right? You were in Beijing.
That's it. So I went to the capital, to Beijing, on my dad's advice, and got stuck in.
So your dad was. Where's your dad?
My dad is still in Hong Kong.
Okay.
That's right. He's been there for a very, very long time.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah, because Beijing, you've been now in Beijing for
on and off since 2004.
Okay.
This is my third stint in Beijing, and then the only times I've been away from Beijing, I've been in Shanghai actually. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And then Shenzhen here because of Chinese New Year, right?
That's right. Down
Chinese
into the New Year.
Yeah, it's nice and warm down here.
Absolutely.
So Beijing back then, 2004. I'm trying to remember. I was obviously in China during that time as well.
That's
Beijing. Was it the same Beijing as it is now?
Oh, completely different. Yeah. No, it was the Wild West back then, and it was. I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, hardly any structures that you see today in modern Beijing were there in 2004. I mean, the pace of change has been breakneck.
Pre-tech boom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, where it was like I was always worried about getting cheated. I was worried about the quality of what I was eating, and I was always worried about like fake bills. You know, like is this real $100 note?
Absolutely. Those were the days. Yeah, you had to rub each bill a few times.
Yeah, that's right.
To check what was going on there.
Yeah, that's right. Wild West is actually the best way to describe it.
I think so. Yeah.
Because now Shenzhen is so it's so crystal clear, you know. It's like everything's above board.
This trip to Shenzhen, I honestly feel like Shenzhen has become like Singapore.
Yeah.
It feels so clean now, and everything works according to, you know.
Yeah, it's like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Crazy.
There's always a button that you can press and an app you can go to for anything. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was in the car on the way over here, and the driver told me to do my seatbelt, and I thought, oh, he actually means it.
Yeah.
You know, I've actually got to do this before he'll start driving the car. I thought, wow.
Very by the book. I kind of do miss the old China though.
I think we all do.
Yeah, there was some advantages to that, right?
Oh, don't get me started.
So stayed in Beijing, and we all know you're quite well known in China as a fitness personality.
That is what I do now. That's what I love.
Yeah. Absolutely. So where did the fitness come in? You finance, learning languages, and fitness came in.
I guess fitness was always there, chugging along in the background. I mean, I grew up loving the sport of rugby, and in the beginning, I guess I always, worked out mainly as a way to, keep myself in good shape for sport. Even when I was working in finance, I used to, go to the gym, work out, and then at a certain point in my finance career, I just kind of got bored of what I was doing, and I decided I wanted to make fitness my main career. Yeah, my thing. Absolutely. And at that point, which was about 8 years ago, I saw like the China fitness industry was had a long way to catch up with what was happening internationally, and I'm pleased to say actually it has moved along as well, like heaps and bounds since even in the 8 years since I've been active in the industry in China.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'd agree as well.
Yeah, back in the day, it was so new that there was opportunity there.
Absolutely.
But it was still a lot about education and teaching people about what it is to be fit and what are the different options when it comes to going to, choosing different fitness pathways. Like going, are you a runner? Or do you like to lift weights? Do you like doing CrossFit? And there was a big explosion, and then it kind of had the opposite effect. All these businesses started going out because it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much, right? A lot of businesses failed. A lot of people are like, oh, well, that didn't work. That didn't take off in China, right? But maybe it just wasn't the right time, right?
Absolutely.
And it's settled down now, and it's kind of, the big players are still doing it, and they're still going. And now we got technology coming in.
Absolutely, and all the buzz right now is with the tech companies.
That's it.
And what are they doing? And it includes the companies which have their own physical locations and the ones which are purely online.
Yeah.
You know? But like even now, like the super monkeys or the locals or whatever, that have the physical locations, everything is run through their apps or their WeChat programs. It is scary how much it is dependent on the technology behind them.
Yeah. No one goes and hands cash over to a reception.
It's kind of rare. It's kind of rare. I still try. Yeah.
You bought online and you sign up. You show a QR. You go in and it's like
it is nuts. And then you post your WeChat moments afterwards, tagging your friends, and then
it's another era. Yeah.
It is totally another era.
So your big brand in Beijing and in Shanghai is Prime.
That's
right.
That's right. And
so tell us about what Prime is.
Prime was what I thought from the beginning was, it's like you say, is a way of like educating and a way of explaining, what does it mean to be fit. I thought we needed to emphasize that actually fitness has been around for centuries, and really, essentially, it's I think for me at least, fitness is about going back to the movements which we've always had to do to survive. It's about these fundamental movement skills, running and climbing and throwing and lifting and carrying and like crawling and swimming and so forth, fighting as well. And so I thought of the name Prime because for me it had the primal element, to behind the name, and also prime just meaning like, being in your prime, being your best.
Right.
So I kind of the sort of putting the two together, like people being their best by going back to these ancient, movement patterns, right?
Right.
That was the idea behind Prime, and we've been running Prime as a personal training studio now for 8 years. But after the first few years, I decided, well, I love these studios we've got, and I love the team of trainers we got, but I can see that now what the industry really needs, rather than me opening up more studios, is really just about the knowledge part. It's about the education.
Okay.
So exactly, yeah. So we've got our bases, our team, and now I really love exploring the content. So I'm now a writer for Tatler magazine, an ambassador for Lululemon. I'm a friend of John Gray. So I get to up here on the.
And maybe we get some Victor into the mirror.
There we go.
Talk some AI mirrors.
There we go. Yeah.
Tracking technology. Yes.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
I totally see that is going to be the future as well of the fitness industry. It's just a question of how long it takes, what exact form it's going to be in when the final product arrives. Because I think what we see on the market now is probably just the first iteration, like iPhone 1 basically.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get deep into your fitness, like your fitness philosophy.
Sure.
And how I interpret that, and correct me if I'm wrong, whenever I speak to a trainer, and I always ask them, what's your approach? What's your, within this, it's a massive category, right?
Yeah.
Fitness. But I always see it as what you interpret is the solution to world health.
Wow, John.
Does that mean is that right? Like
Right.
you're sort of practicing an area within fitness that you firmly believe is the number one manageable solution to solve world health. I mean, just making people exercise. Let's just say on the exercise part.
Absolutely, but the way you phrase that actually reminds me a lot about the way that Greg Glassman started out when he was writing his the CrossFit Journal, because he totally didn't see CrossFit as just a way for people to exercise. Compete. It was for him. It was a way of managing the crisis of chronic disease.
Okay.
Right? And which is the biggest killer of our time, right? It's totally about hypertension, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. It's all of these problems together, and he totally saw CrossFit through its principles, not just on movement, but on the way it encouraged people to eat and the way it encouraged people to come together as a community to be a solution to, like, exactly what you said, the biggest health problems of our time.
Yes.
And I just did my CrossFit Level 1 last year, and I agree with about 90% of the theory and the solutions which Greg Glassman put forward.
Yeah, you mentioned that because
Right.
the COO of Farnow, the
Right.
AI tracking mirror device, right?
Right.
He mentioned to me that he knew you,
Oh,
and
okay.
he read this article that you wrote
right.
on. He actually told me this today.
I
So
see.
I'm curious. Do you want to run
Yes.
over that, like your whole how you see CrossFit, where it fits, and your understanding?
I will say I agreed 90% with it because everything it had said about, going back to eating a paleo diet, going back to these functional movements, not these ridiculous bodybuilding movements, but functional movements, and the fact that on a case, not literally everything you had to do, but actually quantifying your fitness to some extent as well, because like you need, I think this is a part as well what I love about CrossFit. Without the element of competition, without ever having that, nobody ever really pushes themselves to anywhere near their limit. And that was one thing I thought that CrossFit was very successful at, very good at.
Getting people to push their limits.
Getting people to push their limits. Then you always had this sort of conflict then between how far do you push people when
And
you
stay
start
safe.
and stay safe.
Yeah.
And that's the real thing. So, and I just thought there's going to be these inevitable conflicts when you have a system like CrossFit, and I think where they were drawing the lines and setting the boundaries wasn't quite right, and that's where my letter to this CrossFit CEO Eric Rowse came in. I thought they had to look at certain things and the way they were doing things and maybe change them a little bit. I got a lot of positive feedback from some CrossFit coaches who agreed with what I was writing. I also got a lot,
as you can imagine.
I also got some serious pushback. I would say abuse, not quite death threats, but
but borderline.
But borderline from some people who didn't quite agree with what I was writing. Yeah.
But it's your issue is safety. Your issue is let's stay safe.
Because I think CrossFit has evolved now to the point where the top CrossFit athletes in the world are exercising at a level and at a frequency and intensity which goes beyond what is healthy.
Okay.
Right. There is no
healthy in the sense of like you're talking physical.
Everything. What is gonna
shit's gonna break, right?
Yeah, shit's gonna break. What's gonna allow you to still be running around with your great grandkids when you're 100
and
years
then also
old?
the longevity.
Yeah, the
part,
longevity
right?
aspect.
Back is gonna blow eventually. Neck's
Exactly.
gonna go. Knees are gonna go.
Because all I did was actually applied what Glassman was saying himself, and he was saying the way to maximize fitness was you've got to have this thing called work capacity, and the fittest person is the managed person is the one who keeps that work capacity at the highest level for their entire lifespan. But then, if that's the case, you're maximizing the area under the curve, right? And obviously, you maximize the area not just by increasing your work capacity at any particular point of your life, but also by making sure you live a damn long time as well.
I see. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, longevity, health.
Longevity health,
Yeah.
right? Which I see, you can't have a meaningful definition of fitness which excludes longevity. I think everyone wants to live a long time. So I thought that aspects of CrossFit could be done slightly differently, slightly better. I thought basically CrossFit now, the way it's set up and the way the CrossFit Games especially works, it almost is, I don't know what the right word, encourages, but maybe a better word than forces, but the top CrossFit athletes, I would say, are overdoing it.
Overdoing it.
Absolutely.
So meaning they're not going to be at that level when they're older. In fact, there might be more worse off than if they had pushed themselves that hard and they were the same.
Absolutely. And then I got this pushback from the CrossFit community which was saying that, well, tell me any professional athlete who isn't making sacrifices to their short-term well-being in exchange for glory and winnings and so forth. And I said, well, there's a fundamental difference here, though. CrossFit is supposed to be the sport of health. you read the exact words which Glassman wrote.
Very good point.
And this is supposed to be about maximizing your longevity and your long-term health.
Yeah.
So
golf doesn't care about that.
yeah,
Golf's like good luck when you're older.
yeah,
Just hit the ball as hard as you
you
can.
know, exactly, right? So I think there should be a difference between CrossFit and other sports.
That's right. It should have more
It
responsibility.
should have more responsibility, basically. So that was the point I made to Eric Rowse
I like
in
that.
my letter.
I would agree.
I still haven't got a response, by the way, but you know, maybe one day it'll come, right? But that was one of the point. I thought that CrossFit doesn't always coincide with health. I think not all the movements in CrossFit, I would say, are the most natural movements.
Okay.
And in particular, my issue was CrossFit's obsession with barbell lifting. Now, I freaking love the barbell, all right? I spent most of the first few years of my fitness career just training with barbells, and I still spend a great amount of my time as a personal trainer coaching people on the barbell lifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
My issue is whether you can build an entire system of fitness which is where the barbell is such a central part.
I see.
Because if you look at the CrossFit level one, you've got 7 of the 9 foundation movements are barbell lifts. If you look at a CrossFit game, they are. Yeah, right. You've got if you look at a CrossFit Games competition, typically half of the events have a barbell, right?
Okay.
Right. You clean jerks, your snatches, your deadlifts, and all.
It's a good argument because where was the barbell 100, 200 years ago?
That's the thing. The barbell literally was invented about 200 years ago.
Okay.
Right. So we've gone. We're a species of 2 million years, and we've got a period of about 200 years
where we're using
a barbell to improve our fitness. And let's not also look at the words Glassman is writing. He's talking about going back to the most original, natural, functional movements. But then how does the barbell fit into so much of that?
Mm.
I agree you can build a huge amount of muscle mass.
Yeah.
And you can get huge benefits from training with a barbell, but I can't believe that you can have a system of fitness where it features so heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another point I was making. I think CrossFit needs to have a greater amount of movement variety, and it needs to introduce my pet favorite strength equipment, the ClubBell.
That's a good segue. We got to get into this.
We got to get into this.
Yeah, so I would say that your philosophy is more. You're a movement specialist.
I love movement. Yes, I'm a
Would you
movement
say
specialist.
primarily
Yes.
you're a movement specialist? You're someone that kind of sees movement and enhancing movement, and and bringing this to anyone, from
Yeah.
kids all the way up to older
Absolutely.
seniors. That this is a way that they can not only get fit, but they can stay fit.
Absolutely. I think the deeper you get into fitness, I think the more you have to become a movement specialist.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So movement. I had Oki on the podcast. He's all climbing trees and
Big fan of Oki.
does his bear crawls.
I love it.
Does his whatever it's called, the back stretch thing.
Yeah.
Right.
He's way better at that than I am.
Yeah, and then but now you've got this, right? And then he's he can pick up logs and he can hold and sort of do all those cool Tarzan movements.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got the mace. Is it called the mace or the club?
So there are 2 different types. Well, actually, there's probably more than 2 types, but the broad categories are separating into the very long ones, which are the maces.
The mace, okay.
Or they can be called mace bells, because basically anything with a standardized weight, we generally add the word bell on the end: kettlebell, dumbbell, barbell, right? Because we've all got standardized weight systems for all of these pieces of strength training equipment. So mace bell and club bell are, if you like, what I see as the parts of strength training most lacking from most people's workouts.
I see.
Right.
Okay, so this is where you're doing the swing around the head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like wielding a sword.
Absolutely.
It's like some ninja stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And by doing that, you're in you are using your entire body. We're talking about even, envisioning it myself right now.
Right.
It'd be a head-to-toe kind of activation.
Absolutely. Correctly performed, these club bell and mace bell exercises are absolutely working every part of the body.
Okay.
And they are doing it in a way which I feel is actually more natural than any of the other main strength training equipment, like
Barbells.
or even dumbbells and even kettlebells, which are I love kettlebells, by the way, but I think the ClubBell forces you to develop strength, an extremely strong core, and a very, very strong proprioceptive system, because the weight is at such a distance from the body.
Okay.
With a barbell, you can literally stick that barbell on your back and squat, and you have or stick it just into your hands and start deadlifting it. So you see people, squatting and deadlifting, some with amazing form and some with horrendous form, right?
Nice.
With a ClubBell, not only is the ClubBell in the hand, which is at a distance to your body, but the weight itself of the club is at a distance from your hand.
Okay.
Right?
So
yeah. So
you have to account for all of this.
We're talking about a massive, massive leverage effect here.
Okay.
Because of the huge distance from the weight to the center of the body, and that can only be managed by developing an exceptionally good balance and coordination right from the extremities of your body to the core of the body. Okay, so without getting good balance and good coordination and good grip strength,
I see.
you can't even handle a light club. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the heaviest club we have is 20 kilos. That's
20 kg club. So, but that'd be 20 kgs dominantly at the end.
But that's 20 kgs there, which is at a distance to your hand.
That'd be tough.
That is sick, but 20 kgs is the weight of an empty barbell. This is the point I keep bringing back to people, right? You have people it's so easy to lift a 20 kilo barbell because that bar could be sitting on your shoulders. You've got almost no balance or leverage requirements at all to be able to lift a 20 kilo barbell. To lift a 20 kilo ClubBell, you've got to be like Hercules, right?
You really need to know what you're doing.
You've got to know absolutely.
Or else you're going to break some shit.
Yeah, you're going to break some shit. You're going to break some shit, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so obviously starting off in a program using a ClubBell, you would use a lighter weight.
Use a lighter weight to
start movements.
Start with 2 hands on the club.
2 hands on the club.
Start with 2 hands.
Simple movements. Keep it close to your core.
Absolutely.
Don't swing it too much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the same principle.
Then you just progress. Wait.
Exactly. At the start, reduce the leverage effect deliberately by using 2 hands, keeping the weight relatively close to the body, and working on some of the simpler movements, like just squatting with the ClubBell. And then gradually build up to being able to lift the ClubBell behind, over the shoulders, and then work your way into the full rotational type movements, which I think are that's where the real fun comes into ClubBell training, absolutely.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your primary, if you were to really pinpoint your approach in fitness, you're going for a movement specialist, you found an instrument which you believe,
niche,
it basically it gives the entire sort of circumference of all the different movements, all the different muscles.
Absolutely.
So this kind of dominates all other equipment pieces out right now.
It's a really hard way to summarize, but when I train my personal training clients, right, I train them probably to do movements without any weights at all for about 30-40% of the time. I'm just talking about crawling, talking about animal flow, yoga type movements, right? In this part of the work I do with my personal training clients, where we're using objects, where we're using physical loads, I probably split that evenly between barbells, kettlebells, and ClubBells.
Okay.
Right. So it's not that I think ClubBells are, definitely the only thing you need to do. I think you can get tremendous benefit from all of these things that I just mentioned. It's that what I think now is the most lacking when I look at the
entire industry.
The entire industry, it's these ClubBell things, which I'm one of the only practitioners.
I only know that you hold that. I only know you are sort of pioneering that.
There you go. So that's why it is sort of by obligation I feel this has become my niche, right?
I see.
This has become my calling, all right?
I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. It's a good crusade.
Because there's a whole bunch of people out there who can coach barbells and kettlebells really, really well.
Yeah.
And there's no one out there pushing this ancient device called the club, right? So so I need to start pushing that myself.
Nice. So one thing I wanted to ask you about as well, so we've gone through CrossFit, you've introduced the ClubBell, right? We talked about movement, your philosophy. There's another big brand that is out there that I believe is making world changes in health and fitness is Spartan. Spartan, if you, it's one of my favorites.
I love Spartan.
Absolutely one of my favorite. So what are your thoughts on Spartan, where they've come from and where they're going?
I absolutely love everything, everything I've seen about Spartan.
Because that's all movement.
Absolutely.
That's fucking, it's Spartan.
It is Primal, and even, as the name suggests, absolutely, it's going right back to, back to the ancients, right? So the philosophy where you're just combining physical challenges like an obstacle course race,
Yes.
where you're running, you're crawling through the mud, you're having to pick stuff up and
Yes.
carry it, and then throw things, climb ropes. I love all of that, and it's like one of my big heroes in fitness was the French physical educator Georges Hebert.
Okay.
And this is, he for me was the originator of all obstacle course racing, and in fact the sport of parkour.
So he was responsible for parkour.
Basically, yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. I think it can be all traced back to him, and basically, one of the famous things he said was that the ultimate workout should consist of combining all of our fundamental natural movements, including running, walking, crawling, lifting, carrying, throwing, swimming, fighting, and balancing was another
balance.
one. Yes,
Okay.
I think I've got all of the ones that you mentioned, right? And so, if you look at a Spartan race, well, aside from the swimming and the fighting, I think you've got elements of everything else.
I think it's everything else. But yeah, like I said with earlier today when we were talking, the Spartan Games, they introduced wrestling.
That's
so
what I find fascinating.
if they throw wrestling in there, they've done quite well to hit every single. Like they could pretty much say, "We are the world solution." Yeah, don't go wrestle against someone who's not your level. But I think do a safe version of wrestling. No head slams, no chairs, no chairs.
Exactly.
But if they can somehow systemize a safe format for wrestling, imagine in 10 years' time when you go to a gym, there's a wrestling class. People throwing themselves. That's just wrong.
That would be nuts, but that would be so cool, and in a way, it would be going right back to the gyms of ancient Greece, 4th century, right? 4th century BC.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, I was laughing the other day, like looking at these photos of 18th century gyms and the modern CrossFit box.
Okay.
And basically, the CrossFit box is basically just taking us back in time 200 years. Well, if Spartan is going to introduce wrestling, we're basically just taking fitness back in time 2,500 years.
Yes.
What we're basically doing, we've done a full cycle, if you like.
That's right.
We've
a full reset.
Yeah, exactly. We evolved to the point where at one point everyone was on the elliptical machines and doing their chest press and their lat pull downs. And now we're realizing, well, actually, this was all a bunch of shit. What we really need is what those guys were doing back in 4th century BC Greece.
Yeah.
Wrestling each other.
Yeah. You just need a room with a good flooring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they use dirt. Dirt.
Can you imagine that? You pay like a
Top
franchise fee to have this, the Spartan gym, and they're like, you need dirt. You need our dirt. You need to buy our dirt. Come on.
This is really, it is entertaining, right?
Yeah.
You have movement coaches now teaching people how to squat, right? Squatting, like a 4-year-old kid does squatting perfectly.
That's
the reason
right.
we need to be taught how to squat is because we spend too long sitting in these freaking chairs, right?
Yeah.
And now we got people who can make a living out of teaching people to do what a 4-year-old can do, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you talk about, like I was saying before, about the solution to world health.
Right.
Going back, 100, 200 years, there was no like, oh my God, I need to have like, I need to have my special kale, or where are my superfoods, or is that organic, or that has too much fat.
Absolutely.
This was never talked about, right?
No.
There wasn't any health issues. The people that the royals, the people that ran the world were fat because they just simply didn't have to do anything. They could order people to do things, so they got fat, and that was a sign of richness, right?
Yes.
That was like, this guy's got money because he's big, he's fat, right?
Absolutely.
So, but now the way it is everyone needs to pay for these like, subscriptions to salad bars that they it's like, it's salad. Like, what do you need to know about salad? You just eat healthy, natural food. Do the same shit we were doing years ago, and you'll be fine.
Absolutely.
But there's such a big cost on it. And everyone's paying for all of this
Big
stuff.
money. Big money.
That's
So
right.
it's funny. Like if we have these
Yeah.
gyms in the future, which was just like a big piece of dirt where you wrestle with people.
Yeah.
But we got to find a way to charge top dollar for
That's right. Yeah, we gotta trademark the dirt. It's gotta be special. It's a special formula of dirt. You know.
Absolutely. We've imported this from Greece. This
It's the real dirt. The real Spartans were dancing on it.
This is the real shit.
Yeah, but then let's not also forget that technology is going to have its place, and people are going. Technology is so strong, and tech is also heavily invested in, and everyone wants to because it's advanced, right? It's time to go. It's it's exponential.
That
growth,
is
right?
one thing which we can't repeat from the past. We can continuously just look back to the past for examples of fantastic movement and movement culture and ways to compete. But yes, some of the stuff which is being produced now by in the tech world, obviously there's no examples of that from the past, and I think this this exciting era now of just being able to do a workout where you're getting coached from from a mirror is kind of it's exciting, and it's pretty it can completely change the dynamic of the industry as well.
Yeah. So going back to the ClubBells.
Yes.
So if you got someone who's a beginner, like okay, help me get fit, get me functional.
Yeah.
I want to look good naked.
Oh yeah.
What do I do?
We all do.
How do I get my hands on a ClubBell? Where would you start on a ClubBell?
Well, they have ClubBells online on Taobao.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend any of the brands which sell on Taobao though. The ones, unfortunately, which are selling most commonly in China, have been designed specifically to make them easier to use, which means they're kind of short and fat.
So you want a longer one.
You want a longer
even if the weight isn't that high, you do want the length.
You want the length.
I see.
Because the thing is, the whole point of training with a ClubBell is that the load is at a distance from the handle. In fact, some movements you will not even feel like you are swinging a club unless there is a minimum distance between the load and where your hand is.
Okay, it's a good tip.
Yeah. So the ones I use are the ones which are exported to the US. And the brand I use is called Metcon. Actually, I'm an ambassador for Metcon.
So gotta go to you for Metcon.
Gotta go to me for Metcon. All right. So Metcon produces the ClubBells which are exported to the US, which were the ones designed by Scott Sonnen, who was the founder of TacFit. I'm sure you've heard of TacFit, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Scott Sonnen put a little bit of time into thinking about what was the optimal way for a club to be designed to ensure you had that leverage factor to get the correct balance, right?
Okay.
Into a club. So that was one thing, is just the shape of the club itself. Then with the ClubBells, which are made by Metcon, they've got a polyurethane coating, it's a plastic coating which can indent slightly, so if you do hit yourself in the head, you're probably not going to knock yourself out completely.
Yeah, that is a worry. If you're doing these, don't.
Absolutely, yeah. So these ones are a little bit softer, so you'll still have a bruise, but you'll survive, which is always a plus. And they have a gnarled grip, which means they are slightly easier to hold without your hands falling off them, right? Knurled, sorry, I think that's what they call it, knurling. That's it. Yeah. Okay, so you have like this crisscross pattern on
the metal
on the part where you hold it. Yeah.
I see.
And that's important as well, so that your hands don't start falling off. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, with movements, there is a place that you can go to learn your basic movements, or do you just sort of
at the moment
just watch a movie about knights and just start
there are a whole bunch of
that's what I would do. I'd just be like
exactly. There are a bunch of online courses. I've done two in the past year. One from TacFit, the TacFit ClubBell course, TacFit ClubBell 101. There's another good Italian guy, Emilio Troiano, WTA. He runs. They run online courses as well in ClubBells. So I did both of those in the last year because I wanted to keep my ClubBell game going. Get better and better. But there's no one now coming into China because of the virus. So it's without going online, it's pretty hard to learn anymore. Right?
I see.
Unfortunately, right.
So this will be a trend, right? This will be something coming. Do you think it'll grow here?
I think it will. I think it will grow. Well, the way I look at it now is the way that kettlebells were 5-6 years ago.
That's right.
Kettlebells 5-6 years ago
That's
were
right.
fairly uncommon in
It
China.
was like, whoa, that gym has kettlebells.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, what's that guy doing
How
with
special.
that? Exactly.
How wonderful.
And now, people have got used to them. They just go, oh yeah, kettlebells, that makes sense.
Yeah, that
They're
makes
just
sense.
a different way to train, slightly different from a dumbbell,
Gotcha. So that'll be the next thing, right? It'll
But
come in.
it could easily become the next thing. A lot depends on what happens to people like myself and other ClubBell coaches. If we get organized, if we start putting together our own events, certifications, competitions, if we get a little bit of buzz, get a little bit of maybe investment behind us to help to promote this, it could become very, very big. Okay, but I absolutely think it's necessary. I do think these type of rotational patterns, and this is also the point I was making in my letter to Rowse, CrossFit CEO, are so absent from what people are doing in gyms today. And yet, if you look at the world of natural movement, if I'm trying to punch you in the face, or like hit a tennis ball with a racket, or I'm trying to throw throwing a stone, or all of these movements in real life, they're all rotational. The gym is the only place we go and practice linear movements, right? In real life, everything involves
twisting.
It's twisting and turning, right? So how is it that we have CrossFit, the sport of fitness or whatever, which is competing almost entirely with linear movements, when the world of real movement involves a tremendous amount of rotation. Right?
Gotcha.
So that was one of the the points as well I put in this letter.
I like that.
Still waiting for this reply.
Come on, Eric.
Come on, Eric.
Get back to us. That's good. What a great talk. So let's end on you telling us about yourself. What do you say in 5 years' time? Would you still be in China?
Yeah, absolutely. So
what's the future for you?
I'm happily settled down in China. My wife's mainland Chinese. We have 3 kids all at school in China, and I'm delighted with doing what I do now, and I'm particularly excited about developing more knowledge on this type of training that I specialize in the club. But more generally, in terms of the way I see the fitness industry developing in China, it's a really exciting place to be. So
yeah,
got no plans to leave. My Chinese now is got to a level where I actually coach most of my classes in Chinese. Yeah,
okay.
which is kind of nuts. But
fantastic.
Yeah, you just gotta jump in and do it, right?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So I guess where could anyone find Victor? How do we find you?
How do you find me? Well, you can find me on Instagram, Rowse. You can find my Weibo as well, just under my full name, Victor Rowse. And you can see videos of me practicing natural movements. Lots of ClubBell work in there.
Fantastic.
I'm based myself out of Prime Fitness, and right now in Beijing. Prime Fitness is working at the Kerry Hotel in CBD, Beijing. So that's where I run my weekly ClubBell group classes.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Tune in for the next episode where we'll have equally awesome people just like Victor. We'll see you guys next time.